Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope I'm audible and clear. In yesterday's segment, we discussed in detail about what is reproduction, how it is essential for an organism to reproduce, that is, to maintain the continuity. Then we discussed what is the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction, and we also highlighted the point of why there was a need for the environment to select or prefer sexual reproduction. And we even then we moved forward to discuss asexual reproduction in detail, and in that we saw uh, different types of it. That is fission. Under fission, we saw binary fission and its types, budding, followed by fragmentation, regeneration, and in the last we covered vegetative propagation. So now this is today's lecture will also be a continuation from the first chapter of the NCRT, that is reproduction in organism. So basically reproduction, the topic, it has 4 chapters in it. Out of that, this is the first one. It is very important first to get cleared with the syllabus. Hello Vishruti, thank you. Uh, Moving forward. So let me start by introducing Unacademy. Unacademy is undoubtedly India's largest learning platforms. Let me tell you some advantages about it. What you'll get in Unacademy, you'll get live classes every day. You'll get live tests, quizzes, all the structured courses. So these structured courses have complete syllabus coverage. That means, I mean that if you're subscribing for preparing for your NEET examinations, you'll get physics, chemistry, biology, you'll get all the classes, study material, test, everything. And you can enroll Unacademy for all the competitive exams. We have the best materials and unlimited access to all the information. So you are on board with the top educators and you can learn at your comfort and your ease. In such a pandemic situation, what else do you need? You can sit at home, relax back, and get prepared for any exam you wish. So we have a very comprehensive syllabus which offers all these subjects. All you have to do is go to the Play Store, download the Unacademy app, and get a subscription. And for more information, you have to download the Telegram app and copy this URL. All this information and the URL are given in the description box below. And then once you type it, just click on join. You can use my code Janani. I'm not sure if it's visible. Okay. So if you use the code Janani, you will get an additional 10% off, and you can avail all my live lectures, all the test series, and everything. So these are the subscription packages which you can get. I will recommend you most the 12 months one, because for an examination like NEET, you'll at least need 12 months in hand to prepare thoroughly for it. And also, it is very economical. Okay. So, till yesterday, we saw, as I discussed, asexual reproduction and its types. Now, we'll be moving forward to the sexual reproduction. Yes. So, sexual reproduction. Yesterday, we discussed why is the need to reproduce sexually. So, basically, what happens in asexual reproduction, we saw that what all the offsprings are produced, they are exactly very similar to their parent, like genetically, morphologically, everything is clones. So what happens is, these the other reason is that they reproduce asexually. So in case of a damage in the parent organism, even the offsprings are affected due to it. So what happens in sexual reproduction is, first thing, it reduces DNA damage. Okay, it has the ability to select the best characteristics and pass it on. Moreover, what the scientist George C. Williams actually correlated lottery system. Okay, let me write it. He termed the term lottery system for explaining asexual and sexual reproduction. So, in asexual reproduction, just imagine that all you have n number of tickets, like many tickets of the same lottery number. Okay, but in the sexual one, you will get you will get a choice, that is, you'll have all of different number. So you, if there is not one, you can rely on the other, so you have many better chances in sexual reproduction. And the main important thing is that it has a genetic advantage. Let us look how. Yes. Asexual reproduction, gametes can be formed in asexual reproduction, but they are never fused. Sexual reproduction causes the gametes to fuse and form a zygote. So this is a example of human reproduction here, where the egg has 23 chromosomes, sperm has 23, and they both fertilize into the zygote, which is diploid, means 23 from the mother. The child acquires 23 chromosomes from the mother and 23 from the father. So it has 50% of mother's DNA and 50% that of the father. So there is a mix, genetic mix, and hence uh, all all the organisms who reproduce sexually, we can see different characteristics in them. This is what leads to variation. So similarly, there is an example of this flower. So even flowers undergo pollination, which is a process of sexual reproduction. Two fusion of gametes can be produced by same individual or different individuals. So it can be both uniparental as well as biparental. So there are many primitive organisms where we see that in one organism, both are present, the male reproductive and the female reproductive. Okay, generally they are termed as hermaphrodites. Okay. So, but we can see, except many hermaphrodites who prevent asexual reproduction and prefer sexual ones. So, what happens is, though they have both the male and the female in one organism itself, so they have the male gamete and the female ones. But let us take an example of earthworm. It will have both male and female. Okay, but what happens is, both of them are generated or are activated, like these two will mature in different times. So what happens when there is a maturation of male, there will be no maturation of the female. So it has to deposit, when the male is matured, it has to deposit its sperm into the other organism. Okay, though it has the female here, but at that point it is not present, so it will interchange the materials, and at last it will be under sexual reproduction only. Offsprings are not identical to the parents because there is a mixing up of two types of genetic material. It involves meiosis and syngamy. So meiosis is very necessary for sexual reproduction because yes. So in meiosis, what happens is, we have the crossing over of the chromosomes and the exchange of genetic material. Okay, we'll discuss about it in detail, and we'll learn about even meiosis 1 and 2. Okay, so definitely sexual reproduction is slow because it requires more energy. It is a complex process. So it requires a lot more energy. It takes more time than the asexual ones. And also, multiplication is not so rapid. Like a single bacteria can produce in minutes, they can produce so many clones. But it is not in a case of the sexual one. Some MCQs which you can answer for sure. Formation and fusion of gametes occur in sexual reproduction. Offsprings are not identical in sexual reproduction because variation is caused. Okay. So, what is variation? Variation is basically referred to as a genetic advantage. Okay. So, what happens is these variations are basically, it just means that the offspring which is produced is somewhat different from the parent because there is mixing up of the material. And what happens is that this variation can sometimes lead to mutation. So, the best example I can give is that of the human. So, right from we started from stone age and we our brain has developed, our physiological structures are developed. From being called the monkey man, now we are a much developed version. That is all because there was a gradual variation and mutation caused, and that is why we could adapt ourselves. And there also comes selective adaptability. There are many species who have undergone variation and have adapted themselves in the environment. So, phases in the life cycle. So, life cycle, yesterday we had discussed, that is the time from birth until the natural death. Okay, and in between, what all steps they have to undergo or the checkpoints, that is the phases in the life cycle. Thank you, Akil. Hello, Nikita, Elizabeth, Ayushi, Dia. Yes, by offspring, I mean that the child or the individual developed after reproduction. Phases in life cycle. So, it basically has a juvenile phase, which refers to growth, reproductive phase, in which we can see maturation of the reproductive organs, followed by the senescent phase. So, senescent phase, in easier terms, we can refer to it as old age. Okay, when we lose the capability to reproduce and proceed towards death. Now, let us discuss each of these phases in detail. Juvenile phase or the vegetative ones. So what happens in this phase is that organism will show growth so that it can attain certain maturity to perform the sexual reproduction. So what happens is, like if we plant a seed today, during it will not flower in the very next day. First you'll see a small cotyledon coming up, then we can see that it grows further, it grows, there are few leaves formed. So these are all the juvenile phase or the vegetative phase. Okay, so vegetative in terms of angiosperms, what happens is it develops into a sapling. Okay, so it shows growth. Similarly, when a child is born, it first it is like a baby moving to the toddler, then it approaches the reproductive age and followed by the adult. Okay, so the very beginning we can say that the juvenile phase for a human can be up to from the birth to up to 10 to 11 years. That is the time mainly which is dedicated to growth. It is of variable duration for different organisms. Okay, so a plant may have a juvenile phase or the growth phase for a very short period of time, whereas humans take time. So every organism has different time. So every organism has different durations. Reproductive phase. What happens in the reproductive phase is that all the reproductive organism will develop and mature. So in case of plants, what happens is flowers will be formed. So flowers is basically a reproductive organ in the plants which will promote pollination. Pollination is basically transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Okay, so what happens is once these flowers are produced and successful pollination takes place, then it can start with the fruiting part. Similarly, in humans, we undergo the reproductive phase around, we can say, summarize it into 13 to 18 years, and that is the time up till we undergo fertilization, reproduction phase will continue. So, in higher plants during this phase, there is formation of reproductive structures like flowers, as I mentioned. So, this is a flower, okay. So, here we can see the stigma, okay. There is the ovule here, which is the female part, okay. We have sepals, then there is the stigma here, there will be pollen grains here, okay. So this is how we'll discuss it about. This is the next unit is all about the reproduction in plants. So there we'll look into all the details, and this is the anther here. Okay. All right. So now let's see that what is its significance. So the motto of this phase is basically to produce the offspring. Okay. Now this phase is what will assure the continuity of the generation. Okay. So, which may be dissimilar or similar to the parental generation. This phase has variable durations for different organisms. So, all the phases, be it the juvenile phase or the reproductive phase, all these phases vary from one organism to another. So, humans, there is one, for plants, there is one, for maybe for other animals like a monkey or anything, it will be very different from another species. Based upon the flowering and the fruiting pattern, there are two types of flowering plants. Now, constructing ourselves to the angiosperm part itself, when we look at the flowering plants, okay, so there are two types of flowering plants. One is the monocarpic, and second is the polycarpic. Let us see what are those. Monocarpic plants. So what happens is they are the plants which flower only once in their lifetime. Okay, and they will produce some fruits and die. So okay, and they are all annuals, and biennial plants are monocarpic. So wheat, rice, maize, they are the annual. This is very important from the NEET point of view. It is more of like a memory based part. You need to remember all these examples, and I'll try to make it as easy as possible. So let us see what are these annual and the biennial plants. So what happens is that, what is an annual plant? Annual plant is a plant that completes the life cycle, that is, from the germination, that is, the production of the seed, okay, till it dies, it will get completed in 1 year. And since it is monocarpic, that means it will flower in once in 1 year. So these examples are wheat and rice, maize. Okay, moving to biennial plant. Okay, so in biennial, like radish and carrot, what happens is first in the first year they flower. Okay, in biennial plants, the first year they will flower. Okay, They will flower, and all the ovule, stigma, and everything is prepared. Then they'll undergo pollination. And in the second year, biennial means two. So it is going to take 2 years. So in the second year, they are going to fruit. That means they are going to produce some fruit. Like it will, in case of radish, it will produce a radish and carrot. So, relating it to the term monocarpic, just imagine that if you have sown carrot seeds, okay, so in 2 years, it will, the number of plants, okay, so it will fruit only once. Now, once you remove your first harvest, you can expect that it will again keep on, fruiting, and you'll keep on getting the vegetables from the same seed. Biennial plant is a flowering plant that completes 2 years to complete its biological life cycle. So these are the annual plants. Annual, again, that flower and fruit once in 1 year. So its complete life cycle, that is from the time of birth to its fruiting time and death, is 1 year. So we have wheat, maize, and rice. Okay. This is wheat, this is maize, and this is maize and this is rice. Moving forward, uh, these are the examples of biennial. First, we saw that we had carrot and radish. Okay, please remember that beetroot and cabbage are also biennial plants. Biennial, it will take 2 years to complete the flowering, followed by the fruiting. Perennial plants. Okay, now what happens is these perennial plants are also monocarpic. Certain bamboo species flowers after 50 to 100 years. So 50 to 100 years, and if I tell you the exact age, it takes 57 years to flower. Okay, and agave is again, which takes 10 to 30 years at least to flower. Just a moment. I did not tell you what are perennial plants. So what happens is that perennial plants are basically which can, you know, throughout its lifetime, it will take a lot of years, like 50, 100, and so there is not a time limit. Like it will do it in 1 year or 2 year. It takes long time, but it will fruit only once. Hence, it is monocarpic. So, bamboo and the agave, not all perennial plants are monocarpic. So, bamboo and agave are the two ones which are monocarpic. And these two you have to remember from the objective point of view. Now, coming to another very important and interesting part is about Strobilanthes kunthinia. It is also called as Neelakuranji. Okay, it is because it is somewhat blue purple in color. That is the Neela. Okay, and what happens is the best part about this, and the most important, what you have to remember is that it will flower only once in 12 years. Okay, it last time flowered during September to October 2006. This is according to NCRT. Okay, but it flowered again in 2018, and that is why even Munnar and some regions of Tamil Nadu were among the top visited or the top tourist places in the year 2018. It was because these areas are covered in the valleys with Nirankunji, and this makes it very appealing. Okay, so these are converted large hilly tracts of Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu into blue stretches that are attracted large number of tourists. Moving to polycarpic plants. My course timings till now, I will be going live till in this week, morning 11:30, followed by at night at 9:30 p.m. Tonight, we are going to have a discussion about all the important objective questions and the previous year questions that are asked from this very topic, reproduction in organism. And I expect you all to join back tonight. It will be a complete revision, and also you can cover all the important questions related to this topic in just 1.5 hour max. What are polycarpic plants? So, polycarpic are perennial plants, okay, which after reaching maturity, like first it will flower. Flowering is the term for reaching maturity, okay, and then they will flower repeatedly at intervals. So, polycarpic plants, it is not that it will flower only once in their lifetime, it can flower more than once. So, mostly these plants under polycarpic are perennial, that is, mango, apple, jackfruit, grape, and oranges. Okay. Few exception, again I'm highlighting that under polycarpic, which we need to remember, is bamboo and agave, because they flower only once in their lifetime and they take approximately 10 to 30 in case of agave and more than 15 in case of bamboos. Okay, so a very few perennial plants bear flowers throughout the year. Okay, so the example is China rose or the shoe flower. So the period between two flowering phases. So since perennial plants can flower n number of times in their lifetimes, so it takes breaks. Like if it has flowered today, then it will prepare itself, and after some time it flowers again. So the gap between these two phases of flowering, okay, it is known as the interflowering period. Inter means in between the flowering period. It is not the juvenile phase, but it is a part of the mature phase. What we need to remember is, see, juvenile phase is developed into a sapling. It grew as it produced cotyledons, and it has grown and it has started budding. It has, and once flowered, it has reached the reproductive phase. So once it will fruit, and till the time okay, so this is the first fruiting. Okay, it will take time, prepare itself, and it will undergo second fruiting. But this period will not be considered under the juvenile phase. Okay, the growth of the plant, like the necessary one, is done. So this interflowering period is also classified under the mature phase. The reproductive phase is variable duration in different organisms. Yes, of course, in plants, hormones are responsible for the sexual reproduction. So, what happens is that these hormones and certain environment factors regulate the reproductive process and the flowering during the plant, during the growth of the plant, and they are associated with many expressions. So, now let us come to event in sexual reproduction. So, what are now we have seen that based on the angiosperm, this is on a more broader perspective. So, there are events like gamete formation and yes. So, gamete formation, how it is transferred, how it is fertilized, they are all now the events of the sexual reproduction. Once they attain maturity, all the sexually reproducing organisms exhibit events and possess that they have a remarkable fundamental similarity. So, yes, each organism will have a different period, okay, like to for reproduction, or the for all the phases like juvenile, reproductive, we have discussed that. And some organism undergo asexual, some undergo sexual. But all the events here, that is, all the steps under the sexual reproduction, is very fundamentally similar to one another, because basically we are dependent on the male and the female gamete, and all mostly show similar characteristics. Even though the structures associated with sexual reproduction are indeed very different. Yes, we'll look into that point in detail. But for an overview, we can just take any example. Like similarly, for plant, the structure of the reproduction is the flower, whereas for humans, it is not the case. Humans generally undergoes fertilization. Once the with this for of the sperm and the ovum in the uterus, and all these structures and processes are very different from that of the flower. These sequential events may be grouped into three distinct stages. What are those three distinct stages? Basically, first is the pre-fertilization events. So this is the time when it will prepare, the body or the organism will prepare itself for the following fertilization. Then comes the fertilization events, followed by post fertilization. Fertilization will involve the fusion, and post fertilization will be that how this embryo, once it is fused, it will be termed as embryo, and how this embryo is maturing and growing in the uh, parent organism. So So, pre fertilization events, these are the events in the sexual reproduction which occur prior to the process of fertilization. From the name itself, it is evident. The two main pre fertilization events are. This is again very important. See, you'll get at least one question related to all the monocarpic and polycarpic plants. One question will definitely come from asexual reproduction, and one is definitely expected from these process of this sexual reproduction. So basically, 3 to 4 questions definitely we can expect. So yes, so the first is gametogenesis. So here gamete means refers to what we obtain from the mother and the father respectively, and genesis means its formation of how it is formed. Gamete is the haploid structures, okay, and then we have the transfer of gametes. Once these gametes are formed, it is very important that both the gametes from the mother and the father meet, so that then only they can transfer and fuse together and start the fertilization process. Gametogenesis, process of formation of gametes of male as well as female. So see, what gametogenesis is a broader term. Okay, it is for matlab, for the male also it is termed as gametogenesis, and the process of making gametes for the female is also gametogenesis. But if we look individually, male will undergo spermatogenesis and the female will undergo oogenesis. All right. So first category of gametes. Again, category of gametes is very important under the NEET point of view. Isogametes. So iso, the word iso itself, when you break it, it means similar. So what happens in isogametes is that they are morphologically means externally they are similar. That means they are similar looking. Okay. They are known as isogametes or homogametes. Homogametes, again, homo is again a term used for similar. So the examples are cladophora. Okay, see, here we can observe that both the male and the female look very much alike. Okay, they are so similar to each other morphologically, but not genetically. Okay, one is male and the other is female, so they are only morphologically, that is, it is similar looking, but genetically it is not. Okay, Hence, they are termed as isogametes. Heterogametes, hetero means different. So when this fusion of gametes are morphologically distinct, they are termed as heterogametes. So it is the feature majority of the majority of sexually reproducing organisms. So Fucus, Funaria, uh, Cycas, Homo sapiens, and angiosperms like wheat, mango, all will produce heterogametes. Okay, so see, in case of humans, the female gamete, okay, this is not humans, so it is, okay, I'll just draw. For the humans, the female gamete ova will look something like this, and the male looks something like this. So they are morphologically that very similar, very different. Okay, morphologically they are very different and distinct, and hence the term hetero. So the male is called as anthrozoid, okay, and this or the sperm anther refers to the male part of the plants or the flower, and in the female one, it is either known termed as egg or the ovum. So this is an example of the gametes of the male and the female for the humans. So this is for the male and this is for the female. The third chapter is entirely regarding the human reproduction, where we study all the reproductive parts and everything in detail, all the processes, right from how an child is born until, you know, sorry, from how it is fertilized till how it is born. So, yes, sexuality in organism. One is the homothallic, monoecious, and bisexual. So, what we need to remember is homothallic, okay? Homothallic means it is generally referred to either a algae, okay, or a fungus, because they are the ones who produce, who not produce, who possess thallus, okay. And homothallic means that in a single thallus they will have the male and the female reproductive part. In monoecious, it is mostly referred to an organism or a plant in which, in a single organism, again it will bear a male reproductive and a female reproductive. And bisexual is mainly referred for flowers. So, in a single flower, we can expect it to. So in a single flower, we can expect them to have male and the female parts. That is bisexual. Okay, this is an illustration for the monoecious, and halic will refer only to the algae or the fungus. So somewhat they mean the same. So so the male and the reproductive structures are produced in the same thallus of uh, of some fungi on the same plant. So the examples are chara, and that is an algae, so that is homothallic, maize, cucurbitous, and coconuts. These are the examples of angiosperms. The examples of the angiosperms are very important. Maize, cucurbitous, coconut. They are very important. Cucurbitous means cucumber. See. So this is how in a single plant there is oogonium, that is the female reproductive, okay, and we can see the antheridium. This is the oogonium here, okay, and we can see the antheridium. This is the male sex organ. It will have the pollen, okay. This is the male. So in a single flower or a plant, it bears both the female and the male. So another example is maize, which we already saw here. Okay. Then we have, this is the example of chara. Okay. Coming to heterothallic. Okay. Again, Thallic will refer to algae or fungus. Dioecious will refer to an organism, and unisexual will mostly refer to a flower. Male and the female reproductive structures are produced on a separate thallus, that means on different fungi. In homothallic, a single fungi, and in a single thallus, there will be both the male and the female. Now, in this heterothallic, there are two different thallus, okay, where in one there will be male and one there will be female. And on in case of plants, so if consider the term dioecious, it is something like this. So in one plant there is male, and in one there is female. So with the help of pollination or something like that, they both can interchange their genetic material. So the examples are Marcantia, Pyrophyte, papaya, very important, date palm, very important in terms of angiosperms. Okay, and this is Marcantius in terms of the heterothallus ones. Okay, all right. So you need to remember all these examples. Generally, we try to neglect the examples, but mostly from this unit, all the questions asked are from the examples only. So this is a female and this is the male. So we can see that there is two different plants for the female and the male. This is an example of the papaya tree in the case of angiosperm. Thank you, Rabjo. Thank you. Female and the male, again, this is the case of Marcantia. It is a form of algae fungus. So it will be referred to heterothalli. Moving forward, a unisexual male flower is called a staminate flower. Male flower, unisexual, staminate. This is the term. Okay. Unisexual female flower is known as pistillate. See, stamens is basically one of the male reproductive organs for the flower. So hence staminate will be referred to male, pistil will be referred to female. Cell division during the gamete formation. So gametes are always haploid in nature. By haploid I mean that they will always have N, okay, the half of the genetic material from the zygote. So gametes is N and 2N is the zygote. Okay, so what happens is two gametes have to fuse N plus N, and that will result into 2N, that is the zygote. A haploid parent produces the gametes by mitotic division. If parent is haploid, it definitely has to undergo mitotic division because the gamete has to be haploid. And if an organism is diploid, it has to undergo meiosis. What happens is that if an organism doesn't undergo meiosis if it is diploid, what happens is that then there will be doubling of all the information in the chromosomes, and that will create a problem later. Meiosis is refers to as reductional division since it from 2N it is reduced to N. So the information or the chromosomal content is reduced to half. In this organism, specialized cells such as meiocyte or gamete mother cell undergo meiosis. At the end of the meiosis, only one set of chromosome gets incorporated into each gamete. So there are two gametes, male and the female one. So one set, see, since from 2n, okay. Mother, from mother it will contribute n, and from father to n will be n. So from here you get one set, and from here you get one set, and this in whole will form a new organism. So 50%, 50%. This is a process of the meiosis, and very easy diagram representing meiosis 1 and 2. Now you must have learned all the steps in meiosis 1, okay, the prophase, which has again 5 steps in it, in your class 11. So let me just revise the most important phases, that is definitely the prophase, okay, in the interphase, okay. So first what happens is that in the interphase, basically it will just start, the chromosome will start thickening, and all those things will happen. It will form two, we can see these two structure chromosome here, the blue and the red ones are ready for the crossing over. So what happens in the, you must have learned this in 11th. Okay, in the Pachetian phase, what happens is that it will undergo crossing over of two chromosomes. Okay, what will happen here is that I'm showing a step somewhat which happens in between this, and how such a mixing up has occurred. Okay, so what happens in this phase is that it will undergo crossing over like this. Okay, so these are two non-sister chromatids, these two, okay, and they arrange themselves in such a manner that crossing over takes place. Okay, here we can see this is called the point in which the crossing over takes place is the chiasmata. These are few concepts from the 11th. I just want to revise it again so that you understand the process well. And in the later stage, what will happen is that one chromosome will acquire one chromosome will acquire, now as the chiasmata is formed, now this will start rippling. So once it starts rippling, what will happen is one chromosome will get this part, okay, and another one will get this. So mixing up basically takes place, and see such a structure we can see in this phase. So this is how it occurs. And now such homologous chromosomes are formed. This is what happens in the sexual reproduction, that is the meiosis. Okay, in the meiosis, this is the speciality, and this is how the crossing over will take place, and genetic recombination takes place. Now the parent material here is mixed up, the mother and the father one, what all they have contributed is completely mixed up here, so that the offspring which it generates generally has generally has features from both the mother and the father. Now they will produce daughter nuclei, then they will undergo meiosis 2. Meiosis 2 is completely similar to mitosis. Okay, meiosis is the reductional division, and mitosis is just basically the normal cell division which we have observed. And hence, then these daughter nuclei will be produced. If you have any doubts, you can put it up in the chat section. I'll make sure that it is cleared and discussed. Moving forward, now the gametes have been formed. Okay, what is the next step? The next step is that these gametes have to be transferred from one organism to the another. So after the formation of the male and the female gametes, what happens is that these gametes must be compatible, okay, and they have to be physically brought together to facilitate fertilization or to undergo syngamy. Okay, so syngamy and fertilization basically both are the same, but syngamy is the process of the fusion. Okay, and fertilization is basically what leads to syngamy. So that is just the difference between these two terms. Otherwise, they are completely same. So what happens here is that in few fungi and algae, both the types of gametes, okay, both type of gametes are motile. By motile, I mean that they will have some structures like flagella or something like that, by which they can move from one place to another. In heterogametic condition, the female gamete is not motile. Okay, heterogametic means when the image which we saw when we have one large egg and the male reproductive was comparatively very small in size, like even in the case of humans, egg and sperm. Why the difference in size? This is because the female, okay, is non-motile. Okay, since this female is non-motile, uh, the male, so it is larger in size. Okay, and the male one has to acquire some structures like flagella or something to go and reach the female part. Male is motile. This is the reason also why a female is generally, we'll see that an organism will produce only one egg. Okay, single egg is produced, but there are many sperms or there are many male gametes that are produced large in number. That is because they are the ones that have to go and they have to transfer themselves. That is, they have to you know complete the locomotion and they have to move from there to the female and then start the fertilization process. So what happens is that in this process of locomotion or the movement, most of the male gametes die due to various reasons, and that is why we need a large number so that out of such at least some can fuse with the female. So there is a need of medium through which the male gametes move. Most in organisms which thrive, in oceans and seas, of course, the medium will be water. This movement of the water will also help in the reproduction. That is, it will help the male gametes to reach the females. In algae, birophytes, petridophytes, the water is the medium. A large number of male gametes, however, fail to reach the female gametes. Okay, so this is why we have a large number of male gametes and a small number of female. This is again very important according to the board exam also and the NEET point of view. Okay, so this is the representation of how it is moved from one organism to the male moves from to the female. Okay, all right. So to compensate this loss of male gametes during the transport, the number of male gametes is several thousand times more than the female gametes. In seed plants, pollen grains are the male gametes and ovule has the egg. Pollen grains, there are many pollens that are produced, but ovule that has the egg is only one. Again, these 2 points are very important and you need to memorize this. It can be asked as a reasoning question, even as a statement question for objectives, or even just like a normal uh, question where the statement can be stated as such that is it which of the following is correct, and you need to know such points in detail to answer those. So the phase in the organism's life cycle is juvenile phase, metaphase, mitotic phase, meiotic phase. So, life cycle, we saw different phases. So, the answer has to be juvenile phase. We saw three phases under life cycle: juvenile phase, reproductive phase, and the senescence phase. Juvenile is the first one where mostly growth is promoted. Reproductive organs develop and mature in this phase. What is it? It definitely has to be the reproductive phase, which is followed after the juvenile phase. Examples of an annual plant is a very important question: radish, sugar beet, wheat, mango. The answer is wheat. Wheat is an annual plant. It is monocarpic. That means it will flower only once in its lifetime, and it is an annual plant. That means in 1 year it will flower only once. Homogametes are produced by Funaria, Cladophora, Chara, and Zemes. So just remember the green similar structure we saw. Homo means similar. It is also referred as isogametes. Why we saw it? Cladophora. Okay. So thank you. That will be the end of the lecture. But before that, one other point I want to discuss is the post-fertilization events. Okay. So what happens in the post-fertilization events is that, okay, so fertilization we saw. Fertilization is just the syngamy, that is the male and the female will fuse together and form an zygote. What happens after that? The post-fertilization event, what we have to know is that basically the organisms will either be oviparous, okay, either it will be viviparous or it can be ovoviviparous. What is the difference? What happens in oviparous is that they lay eggs. Okay, so they have a calcareous structure. That means the egg has a calcium covered coating under. Okay, so these lay eggs, and in these eggs, this outer covering is for the incubation of the young one, and it will help it to grow and mature in the egg itself. And once the organism is ready, this egg will break open, and the any bird or whatever the organism is, it is born. So the example, just a moment. Yes. So please write down the examples for oviparous is sharks, skates, bony fishes, frog, lizard. Okay, these are the ones that lay eggs. So out of this frog, it actually goes a process like a copulation, but it is actually termed as pseudo copulation. So the female will lay eggs and the male will go and fertilize it. In viviparous, it is mostly seen in mammals, and all the organisms are developed completely inside the womb of the mother or inside the mother. So it has a process where the mother prepares its uterus for this process, and then the organism is matured inside the mother's womb itself. So the mammals like humans are the best example, can be the best example for this. Okay, and even some viviparous have all the mammals whatever we see, like whale, etc., can be under the viviparous ones. Yes. Now coming to the ovoviviparous, like I said, now these eggs are incubated. They have eggs, okay, and these eggs are incubated inside the mother's oviduct or uterus. In viviparous, there is no formation of egg. Okay, in viviparous. Viviparous, there is no egg. But in ovoviviparous, we see that there's a formation of egg and it is developing inside the oviduct or the uterus itself. That is ovoviviparous. Okay. And in viviparous and ovoviviparous, and also in oviparous, all the nutrition that this embryo gets is from the external source. By external, in case of viviparous, it can be the placenta of the mother, and in the oviparous, it can be through the leather shell or the calcium shell, and all the external environment, it will be attaining its nutrition. So the embryo always gets nutrition from either the mother, like the external environment. So that is the end of this chapter. Um, Tonight at 9:30, please be on time. We will have a complete discussion about all the objective questions related to it. We will be solving around 100 plus objective questions for this very chapter, and it will be very important from the NEET point of view. And also, once you have do subscribe the channel, please go like my video. It is really motivating. Yesterday was my first class. This is my second. I hope you liked it. You learned something new. Please do like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and be ready tonight at 9:30 for the quiz. Thank you so much.